The reality is that as an entrepreneur, you don't know many things, right? And if you don't let other people help you, you're not going to be successful. You always have to be learning new things, reading articles, reading books. That's the true entrepreneur. He never stops learning.
Hey guys, welcome to the Up Next podcast, where we are interviewing teen entrepreneurs that are making it big time in the startup world. We are asking the questions we know you want to hear. Up Next is an app made for teens where anyone can join or build a real life startup.
So today we have Jabib Char from Colombia. He is the founder and CEO of FitHub, which is a platform that specializes in healthy foods, supplements, and personal care products, adding their value through technology. Jabib, it's so nice to have you. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Shannon, for having me here. Yeah, you said it pretty well. That's what we do. We are like an online supermarket specializing in healthy products. We also have like a physical part because we have some fulfillment centers where people can come in and buy. So yeah, basically that is what we do.
Oh, that's great. So how did you know your idea would work in the first place?
Well, I was working in the grocery business since very young. My family has been in this business for many years, and my sister and I we were working, in that space, and we saw that the healthy product category was growing very fast, 4 times more than traditional groceries. And we didn't found like a big player, not only in Colombia but in Latin America. We also didn't find like a player that was doing a pretty good job in the online part. So we decided, to cover that necessity and create FitHub. We actually started not as an online supermarket. We started as a distribution company for healthy products. And in our journey, we evolved not only to that part, but also to the online part. Let's say we added the B2C part to our business model.
Right. So since, things kind of move to the technical stage of life, then you kind of have to always have that option open. So you made a great move there.
Sure.
Um, who do you consider your first mentor, and what did they help you go through?
Okay, in terms of business, yeah, I'm gonna talk in terms of business.
Mhm.
I had a mentor when I was in the university. He was a big entrepreneur here in my city, and he was a professor from I was a professor in a course that I took, and he inspired me a lot, to be an entrepreneur, to help people, to contribute to society. So he was very inspirational for me. Then if we talk, well, my grandfather, he also has inspired me a lot, to 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 be an entrepreneur because he did it also when he was very young, in a very different situation. And then the many books that I have read, of business, so yeah, basically that.
So there is a lot of help from a lot of different directions. I think it's always nice to take
Yeah.
inspiration from family.
You know something, when you talk to investors, one of the things that they are looking for is that the entrepreneur is very coachable, because the reality is that as an entrepreneur, you don't know many things, right? And if you don't let other people help you, you're not going to be successful. You always have to be learning new things, reading articles, reading books. That's the true entrepreneur. He never stops learning.
That's very true. Needs to be open to learn from others as well, and not just, stay in their lane. Because as you mentioned already, 3 different mentors, and I'm sure that you've learned also from numerous other people and other things that you've read or listened to. So it's always
Sure.
important to keep an open mind.
Sure.
And how much time did it take for you to build the product that you launched? So let's say the website.
Yeah, well, we started with an MVP in Shopify. Actually, we did it, like my sister and I, we did it in 2 weeks,
Very impressive.
from our necessity. Yeah,
Mhm.
because when the pandemic started, like we were 100% offline, and we needed the online platform, and we built it ourselves. And that's the right way to start, with an MVP. It didn't cost almost anything to us, right? At that point, when we started the online part, our other 2 co-founders, they enter our team. At that moment, they were working in Mexico in their own startup. They did something similar to us in the consumer space. Before they work at Rappi, in Mexico, so they knew the tech part, the operational part. So then when they came to work with us, they started working on our native website. We actually launched the website that you see right now. We launched it like 3 months ago. So it took us like 6 months to develop it because it's not only the website what we build, it's the back office, all the inventory system, the accountability system, all that part we also build it. So that's what had take more time.
Yeah, of course. But it is very important to have a starting MVP. So it's good that you mentioned that. And from the MVP to have what you have today, sometimes, takes time. You launch and you relaunch. And it's very important to know that it's okay that you're relaunching, that you're doing things, that you're building them again.
That's the right way to start with an MVP. And actually, because if you're a startup, you should have many projects. Every three, like every 3 months, you should have a numerous or a few new projects. For
Mhm.
example, once I read that Amazon has every quarter they have 27 new projects. So I mean, we cannot afford that right now, but at least one or two projects, and we always start with an MVP.
Yeah, you always need something else going on. And it slowly builds, as you build yourself.
Sure.
And how much money was needed for your first version? Was there any funding? And what do you recommend to those who don't have any money?
Well, the thing was that we started, as I told you, like even I think even more, like 4 years ago. My sister and I, we started very slowly, with the distribution part. So when our co-founders came in, we already were a profitable company, right? But we started with very small. I mean, there wasn't, and like our parents, they let us like $20,000 to start FitHub, a very small amount of money. And slowly we built, the infrastructure we had. And then one thing that we did, we applied to Y Combinator last year on October. Fortunately, we get in, and we started the batch. And at that moment this year, we start receiving funding, from external investors. And it, things have changed since that happened because we have more money and we have done a lot of investment in technology and other things. But the thing is that you don't need to receive investment to start. You can start very small. You shouldn't invest a lot of money just to start. I mean, you could do validations through WhatsApp. In the consumer space that I am, like you can do many things. You can do Shopify, and in other spaces there are other ways to validate. If you haven't validated, you shouldn't start spending a lot of money. So money shouldn't be an excuse, actually.
That is very true. I totally agree. Making sure that you have an audience and, a big enough audience to take this project forward and to see it, blossom and be bigger than you even expected it to be is always the point that we're trying to reach. And how did you get those first users? How did you validate yourself? What was that like?
Well, as I told you, like since we started like 4 years ago, like we have a user base of 4 years, but we started like with the first, with the first users, a couple the first month, then the second month, and we started, like building that user base. But for example, just to tell you something, we are launching in a new city here in Bogota because we launched in Barranquilla, which is where we were, where we were based before, right? Now Bogota is a new space for us. So how do we acquire new users? Well, first, you know, having a good experience. If people don't get a good experience, it won't work because the best way to get new users is word of mouth. People talking about your product or your experience. We have paid ads, with Instagram, with Facebook, but we don't spend a lot of money on that because that shouldn't be your main strategy. And third, we work a lot of with influencers, with alliances with sport teams and all that kind of stuff. So you have to, for example, if you want to enter to YC, they ask you like how you're getting new users, and if your answer is just paid ads, it won't look good for them. You need to find strategies that don't cost you to get more users.
That is very true. The fact that a product is successful through word to mouth is something that shows of a really cool, really valuable product that people want to talk about it, and they're pretty much advertising you for free. So I really think that that's something that everyone should notice and see that it's happening with their product. As well as a bunch of influencers. I totally agree. The whole health fitness fad, let's call it, is like really big now, and it's just getting, bigger and better, and people are loving the different options of, health supplements and food and whatnot. So um, there are also a bunch of influencers that can help with that. I think that's a great way to go.
Sure. Uh, for example, a YC motto is make something people want. And
Mhm.
that's what we try to do. Like, if people want the product, it's going to be successful. Really.
That's true. It's as simple as that. It sounds really easy when we say it like that. What is one mistake that you would avoid?
Well, many of them. For example, to be honest, in the accountability part, we weren't very rigorous since day one. So right now, since we're growing very fast, like we have many problems, in that part. So if I start a business again, I will be clear on that part, like really having the right people working on that, because then you're gonna have problems. And I particularly I like to do things good, like pay all your taxes, be very responsible with that part. So that part is very important. Yeah, we're sometimes when you're starting a startup, we're thinking anything but but the financial part. But it's very important to have that mindset, you know for
Yeah,
when you
to make sure that you have a quiet mind when it comes to all of those issues, an accountant without an accountant, just to make sure that things
yeah,
don't get messy.
yeah, sure.
So you said you guys have co-founders, which is like something recent. It's you guys didn't start with these co-founders.
Yeah, my sister and I, we started from the beginning, and the other co-founders, they came later.
Okay, so what would be three traits that you look for in a business partner, co-founder type of person?
Okay, first, integrity. I mean, if I cannot trust 100% that person, I can work with him. You shouldn't work with somebody that you don't trust 100%. First, that will be the first thing. Second, a good communication. A good communication, because I mean, having a co-founder is like having, like your couple. Someone you marry, for a long time. So you need to have good communication. If the way that your co-founder communicates with you is not appropriate for you, you're gonna have problems. And last, for me, it's very important to be complementary. One of the things that I consider has given us in FitHub a success is that we all have clear roles. For example, I'm in charge of the portfolio of finances. My sister is in charge of branding. Maria Jose, she's in charge of marketing and growth. Alex is in charge of tech, Andres of operations. So we have very clear roles, and then we're together and we discuss. For me, that's very important. Because if you having clear roles.
Yeah, that's very true. You don't want to have like this gray area of people not really knowing who does what. So just to outline that beforehand. And I always say that the founder and co-founder is totally like a married couple. They probably see each other more than the significant others.
Yeah,
So it's really something you guys have to have good chemistry.
for me, it's the same as marriage, believe me.
If not worse, maybe.
Yeah.
So, what is a tech tool that you can't go without? Maybe an app or a website, something that you need it.
Okay. Our dashboards, at least for me, if you ask Alex, our CTO, is gonna tell you something different. But in my case, the dashboard, because there's where I see all the data. I, especially when I talk to investors, when I plan the strategy, having the information in the dashboards, that for me is indispensable.
And what would be your opinion on the accelerator you went through? Is this something you would recommend to people looking to, give themselves a boost or to even start from that?
Definitely, I will recommend everyone to apply to Y Combinator. Is one of the best things we have done as a company, as a startup. They are incredible in terms of helping you do the fundraising, in terms of helping you build your company. They're very wise. They have a lot of experience. They contact you with people from great companies that have already been successful, and it has no cost. I mean, you can apply to YC, and even if you don't get in, the whole experience of applying, of doing the application, helps you to think better about your business. So really, really, like that exercise of just applying, I consider it helped me itself.
Yeah, just having them ask the questions that you maybe didn't ask yourself, and really any accelerator. I mean, I'm not going to mention, obviously, up next for young people would be the accelerator, and the way to go to just have that direction. It's always good to have someone with a lot of experience. As we said before, there are many mentors that we can always learn from, and I'm sure that that's just one of those chances as well.
And the acceptance rate, to be honest, is really low,
Mhm.
because they're very strict with whom they let in. For example, they apply 15,000 companies every year around that, and just 300 get in. So they're very strict.
Yeah.
But that's good, because you have good partners in your batch.
Yeah, and that way you know that if you got in, this is something that you need to pay all of your attention to, because this was instead of someone else. So you should be grateful for your spot, let's say.
Sure.
So which entrepreneurs inspire you the most these days? Who do you have your eye on?
I really love Bill Gates,
He is
because
classic.
yeah, I know it's classic, but with all that happened with the COVID and the pandemic, seeing this guy really trying to help everyone, and changing the world for better, like it really inspired me. I saw his documentary recently
Right.
in Netflix. So it's very inspiring, because I mean, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur and having money, is to helping others. First you have to help yourself. You can't miss that part, but then you have to take care of the rest of the people. So for me, that's very inspiring. And I don't think you need to be Bill Gates to help others. But that has really inspired me. Like, hey, this guy really is awesome what he's doing.
Yeah, he has a special way of thinking, and the fact that he is Bill Gates and he has like all that he has, and he still knows to give back to the community is something important to keep.
And also, well, I could say also that I admire really like a lot of Colombian entrepreneurs that have been doing awesome jobs. I really admire them. The guys from Rappi, the guy from Nubank, and many others. Like, these guys are really like proving like Latin American startups can be, world class companies. So I
Yeah.
really admire them.
And which trait of yours do you feel is your weakest and you need to outsource it, maybe with another teammate or maybe some kind of platform that does it for you?
Okay, in terms of the business, okay, I would say, for example, like we are not a manufacturers. For example, we don't manufacture anything. When we have tried, like, it's not that we can't do it, but like, it takes our focus from the things that we should be doing, that is being a B2C company. So we have learned that we are not manufacturers, and we are trying to give that to third parties, to third parties. If we want a product, for example, we have a private label brand, we have third party people producing that for us.
And let's say I am an average teenager looking to build my startup and I have $100.
Mhm.
What or where or how would you tell me to use this money, if at all?
$100, just
Right.
$100.
Just
Okay. Well, the first thing, I mean, it's not much, but the first thing that I should, is like, in what space do you want to get in? I mean, for example, I get into the healthy food space because I love it. I am a consumer of this type of products. I have been always in the grocery business, so that's my thing. So what I want to see in a young teenager is how passionate is about the business is getting in. So for example, if the teenager, I don't know, he's passionate about art, you know, and he would like to have a marketplace of art. Like, I want to see that, And then with that money, he could buy like a Shopify. I think the subscription to Shopify is around that, like $100.
Mhm.
So that is first looking for that, what he's really passionate about and what he is gonna be an expert, and then to see what you can invest the money. Maybe it could be in books, or an online course, to study more about the thing.
Yeah, to first find what you're passionate about and to talk about it with like the amount of excitement that would get other people excited. You can't just like nonchalantly talk about this kind
Yeah,
of subject.
I think when you're gonna launch a company startup, you should put yourself in a position where you can win. So for example, I mean, I don't know, for example, if you are good at at selling, well, you should work on that. You shouldn't work in numbers because that's not your thing.
Mm-hmm.
You should put yourself in a space where where you have an advantage position, and bring someone that can do the things that you don't do well.
That's true. And do you feel that teenagers today have an advantage in building a startup?
Well, definitely. I mean, for example, when I was a teenager, the entrepreneur ecosystem didn't almost exist, at least where in Colombia where I live. And like internet was not what we have today. So right now, for example, you can access all the information from Y Combinator from YouTube if you want, you know, and there are a lot of mentors. I'm 32 years, but when I was a teenager, I didn't have the access to all of these tools and books. We didn't have Kindle. I mean, so definitely, I would love to have to start that. I have could start. Like when I was a teenager, at least selling. Whatever
Whatever
I
I
could.
can, yeah.
I, yeah, I mean, everything happens in the right time.
That's true. No, I'm sure that teenagers have the advantage of being born into the I don't know, let's call it the highest, technology that we have in the world currently, and just having everything at their fingertips. So it's something that they should advantage.
You know what is the biggest enemy of an entrepreneur? I mean, not only if you are a teenager, also if you are an adult, being comfortable. You know, being comfortable, because I mean, if you're a teenager, but your parents give you everything, like you will not have that motivation. To that drive. I mean, the entrepreneur has to have a drive. I don't know. You have to find it. I don't know if you wanna. It shouldn't be proving something to someone, but if that's the one that you have, at least you have one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like you have to have a drive. And what I see, because for example, I have younger siblings, and they are teenagers, and I try to to look for them that drive, and talking to them like, what's your drive, what motivates you. So for example, my two of my siblings they are living in Spain, and they want to stay there. So if you want to stay there, well, you should. I mean, your drive is, I need to build a company to stay so I can stay in Spain or find a job. But they have now a motivation.
Yeah. It's also maybe not to prove someone to something, maybe even to just prove to
Yeah,
yourself that you could
yeah,
do it.
yeah. I don't know, but you need a drive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question. If you could have any superpower in the world, what would you pick?
Superpower. Wow. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna sound maybe a little bit Machiavellic, but like reading people's mind. I would like
Reading
to do that.
people's minds? Well,
Yeah.
just don't use it for evil. Use it only to your advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I say it because like I would love to improve communication with people. Like I always try to have the best communications. And I think like we all have problems communicating what we really feel, what we really think. So I would like to really understand what the other person is thinking or feeling, just to have a better relationship, and that things can flow, easily.
Yeah, well, that sounds like the best direction for mind reading and not like taking over people's heads and stuff.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
So Habib, it was great getting to know you and what you do. I think that your platform is amazing. It's something that a lot of people can use and enjoy, and you're helping a huge audience. I hope that we can enjoy it ourselves at some point.
Thank you, thank you. I hope we can be one day in Israel. I hope so.
Yeah, very soon. I feel it already.
Thank you very much.